Hello, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live on this Thursday. John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino with you. I am trying to massage my voice here. My kids have given me some type of cold, though I feel fine. I'm not really coughing or sneezing.
Timeout.
I just have a little thing of frog in my throat.
But you're going to the Knicks game tonight. They need you to chant defense.
I'm not going to be able to yell. I got to make sure I'm good for next week at the Combine.
Okay, I understand that.
There's a lot of talking that goes at the Combine next week. I have to make sure I'm good.
And I appreciate that. It is your job. We need you to be able to be vocal out there. But I will tell you, if the Knicks lose tonight, it's because you didn't yell.
Yes, I'm sure that's the reason.
I'm sure it is.
So today we're doing a little Combine preview for you folks. We'll talk about why the Combine's important, what you look at, and then also who are some of the players that I'm keeping an eye on and Paul's keeping an eye on that testing might be a little bit more important for them than some other players. So we'll take your calls as well. The line's already lighting up at 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. We're in the Hackensack Manila podcast studio. Keep getting better. And, of course, Big Blue Kickoff Live is presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. Paul Dottino, how are you, sir?
Doing all right, John. Did you see, though, last night, the news reports? There's a possible snowstorm coming again this weekend? Just when we started to see land again.
Well, I think it's while we're gone. I don't think it's this weekend, is it?
I believe Sunday night.
Oh, okay. My wife told me it was while we were gone again, and then she threatened to murder me. So,
okay,
I was at the Senior Bowl the last time we had a foot of snow.
I know. And so the question is, are you going to be the lucky charm that allows us to avoid it this time? Because if this thing starts on Sunday night and we're supposed to get out Monday morning, Monday midday, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Depends how bad it is. Well,
I know.
We'll see. Knock on wood. Hopefully we'll be okay because we do need to get out there.
We do need to get out there.
As soon as humanly possible. No question about it. All right, so we are taking your calls, 201-939-4513. Let me just kind of, as we've done this Combine stuff for many years, I've kind of evolved in how I think about it. Testing's important. Athletic traits are important. They've become less important, Paul, at least with some of the timing, because now teams have GPS speed.
Yes.
For how fast guys are actually running on the field, whether it's in a straight line or changing direction. All those numbers teams have from GPS devices in college.
So why are we doing the 40 still, when you think about it?
Well, there are a few reasons. One, different conferences using different GPS devices that give you different results. So a lot of time they're not comparable conference to conference.
You're right. That's a really good point.
So that's one reason.
But you understand my point. Play speed is always more important than dash.
Well, yes. It also makes money because it's a televised product.
Yes.
So that's also an important reason. And then, of course, so that's how I look at it in terms of the testing. And look, we're looking for outliers here. If a guy looks fast on tape and he runs fast, you shouldn't adjust him on your board because you already know he's fast. If a guy runs really fast, he looks slow on tape, then you go back, you rewatch. If a guy looks slow on tape, runs fast, you're like, well, maybe I missed something. So that's what you're looking for here in terms of the testing. It's the outliers, Paul. And that's where the Combine testing, at least with the numbers, becomes important.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, as we have always discussed, it's the medicals and it's the interviews that will be the heaviest weights coming out of this week in Indianapolis.
Medicals, by far, the most important.
Probably 5 times more important than anything else,
yes,
honestly. And so, I get it. The skills competitions, if you will, are televised. Everybody's going to watch it. Hey, we're going to watch as much as we can too. And that's what kind of gets people going because everybody wants to see the 40 time. Everybody wants to see the lift. How many reps can so-and-so get on the lift? I get all of that stuff. It's fun. It's a way to entertain yourselves. But when you're talking about these teams, it's the medical staffs that have the toughest job of all. Because they got to sort through all the stuff that they've heard or they've read on those charts. And then when they get that guy in front of them, they need to figure out what is the real deal. Because I got to go back and tell my GM that this guy's hamstring problems are not going to be an issue when you try to draft him.
Hey, look, and you need to dig into some of these numbers, right? Like the 10-yard split for an edge rusher is more important than the 40-yard dash. A 10-yard split for even an offensive lineman more important than the 40-yard dash. Explosion numbers for jumps. That tells you how explosive a guy is, how quickly they can accelerate and go from 0 to top speed quickly. I I think 3-cone drill is very important. Not a lot of guys do it anymore. But the NFL is not a straight line game.
It's not.
The NFL is a change of direction game. So the 3-cone drill tells you that, but more importantly, even though you don't get numbers from them and they're not timed, that's where the drills on the field become important. Because you see how guys move and how quickly and smoothly they move, doing the motions that their position is required to do on the football field. So you can see athleticism by watching the drills closely almost as well, if not better. You see the natural athleticism of some of these guys, coordination, smoothness, how easy it looks, even more so than some of the time numbers you get from some of the events.
Yeah, the word that I love to use is fluidity.
Yep.
I really enjoy seeing guys who have great fluidity when they're doing those particular drills. Then there'll be some other guys who you just watch them and you can tell they're a little mechanical, they're a little stiff, they're a little awkward, and then usually their test scores are not going to be as high. That's just the way it is. You can even tell, right before they even announce the guy's score, you're like, okay, he looked a little gawky. Something wasn't right there.
But some guys can be fast in a straight line or bench press a lot,
yes,
or even jump well. But once they start doing the drills, they might not be functionally athletic in terms of how they play the position.
For sure.
Which is why it gets important. All right. Anything generally about the combine besides that you want to hit?
No, I think the only thing that's troubling me, John, is that, and I'm sure Tony already told you on your latest draft season.
And that's going up on Monday, our combine preview.
You know, over the last few years, we've seen more and more guys not just opt out of certain events, but some guys just opt to show up and maybe do an interview and then say, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah, like Fernando Mendoza's not doing anything.
Right.
He's going to go there, which is fine. He's the first overall pick. I wouldn't do anything
No,
there.
I get it.
Will Ty Simpson participate? You know, he got hurt in the final playoff game he was in. Is he healthy yet to throw? I think he can help himself if he can. Does another quarterback. And look, I don't take the throwing at the combine. I don't think it's that important. I never have. But can somebody claw their way into that number 3 quarterback spot, which I think is very much up in the air right now? At running back, in a very weak group, top 2 players are both probably going to be the 2 Notre Dame running backs. Jeremiah Lovett is backup, Jadarian Price. Can one of them step in there? Or, I don't think Love's going to do anything. I wouldn't. I'd finished grading him, by the way, and he might be the best player in the draft. He's that good. He's really, really good.
I think he lacks power, John. And I also think he lacks patience.
He runs a little, and I think he's plenty patient. I think I think his weakness is he runs a little tall. I think that's, if there's a weakness with him, I think he runs a little tall.
And when he does that, he doesn't show any strength.
No, I agree with that.
So I saw a number of times where I thought he was just too forceful attacking when he could have maybe waited for a block or two. I've seen that too. But the point is,
and he bounces outside a little bit.
He does.
Sometimes
he does.
Too much, yes.
And that's part of the patience too, because you're not waiting for your hold to develop. You're taking it outside right away. I just don't see him on the level of a Barkley. I don't have him there either. To me,
he's still red. He's not a blue.
Barkley was, for me, the litmus test.
That's fine.
For all running backs. I've never seen a running back coming out at that point who was better than he was. He was, to me, the all-time guy.
Right.
So
anyway. I want to see, what does Jonah Coleman run on the 40? Can a running back, can his testing elevate him in a group that's very, very cloudy after those top 1 or 2 guys?
It really is.
Wide receiver, again, the 40-yard dash time is going to be important. Some of the bigger guys, Denzel Boston, Malachi Fields, Elijah Surratt, how do those guys run? The Tennessee, Chris Brazel, he should test out of the building. He should be great.
He's not as physical as I wanted him to be. You told me to watch him yesterday. I did. He's not as physical as I'd like.
No, he's not. He isn't a hugely physical guy.
No, and for the size that he's got, I know he's a little lanky.
He's not thick.
No, and I kind of would like to see a little more of that. But, we'll see.
Better route runner, though, than a lot of the other Tennessee guys.
I agree with that.
Especially for a tall guy that went to Tennessee, his routes are actually okay.
Yes.
Which was surprising when I watched the tape.
I didn't see as many varied, though. He still was limited in what he was running.
Correct. I agree with that.
But
he did more than Hyatt did when Hyatt was
there.
He
did. That's correct. I agree with that.
All right. Tight end, a guy like Eli Stowers, if he wants to get into the second round, he's a receiving tight end. He's going to have to test well. Same with Max Clare from Ohio State. Offensive line testing, I want to see the drills. I want to see how these guys move, right? I want to see, just how smooth they look and how coordinated they look. How can they recover when they're asked to go side by side, side to side? I think that's important. Edge players, this is a bigger edge class, Paul. So you're not going to get some of those crazy Micah Parsons numbers that we had before.
No.
Because these guys are all bigger. But
That's right.
does Bain and Falk and Mesidor and that group of guys meet those thresholds you're looking for the position, even though they're like 270, 280, 265?
You know, Bain is probably one of the two players who I am most curious about for the testing because his arm length is a problem. It just is. And
I don't think he's that bendy either. He doesn't like win with speed off the edge.
You know, I have some doubts as to whether or not he might wind up being better as a 3-technique defensive tackle.
I don't think he's big enough.
I don't think he's big enough either, which is why I hate to say this, I think he's my number one boom or bust guy of the guys who might be high in the first round. He might be my biggest boom or bust. Because I'm not sure.
But here's the problem, though.
I'm just not sure.
He might not bust because he's big and strong enough and he's so good against the run. He's not going to bust because he's going to be good there.
I'm talking about for the relative area that he'll be drafted.
No, I get that.
You'll expect him to be drafted mid to higher first round.
Yeah, of course.
And when you do that, you're kind of thinking hopefully he'll sniff a Pro Bowl, right? I don't think that's what he is. Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen.
I want to see how Caleb Banks and Peter Woods test. Two very athletic defensive tackles. Keep an eye on those guys.
Banks' foot is a big deal.
Well, I mean, he had to play in the Senior Bowl, so
right.
But the medicals for him will be
that's the other guy I'm really curious about.
A really good linebacker class. I don't think linebacker or safety, by the way, are testing positions. I think how you play, instincts, how you see it, much more important. And then cornerback. Look, I think how Delane measures and how he tests will be super important for him. Does Jamal McCoy, more than a year off of the ACL, do anything? I think teams want to see him do things to see if he's healthy. He did not play football this year. And then to me, that next group of cornerbacks is a bit of a mess. The Avion Terrells. I have Chris Johnson to group. A lot of other people don't. I think he's that good. Colton Hood's in that group. Brandon Cissay's in that group. How do those guys run? How do they separate themselves when you look at how they test? And D'Angelo Ponce, another guy. How tall is he? What does he weigh? The really talented slot corner out of Indiana. So those are some of the things I'll keep an eye on. And then safety, Dylan Thieneman is the guy that mentioned to see how he tests. But that's about it.
Yeah, the corners, there are not a lot of guys that are over 6 feet this year. Last year, we had a bunch of guys who were 6'1". Mm-hmm. It was a time for taller boundary corners. Not so much in this class. I'm interested in Hood from Tennessee, John. From what I understand, and you were down there at the All-Star games, I heard that he was very inconsistent and did not really help himself.
So I had not watched him on tape before I got to the Senior Bowl.
All right.
I got to the Senior Bowl, and I'm like, why are people talking about him as a first-round pick?
Right. And that's
but
curious
since
to
then,
me.
I've watched him on tape.
He's good.
He's good.
He has talent.
Correct.
He's got a toolbox.
He's probably my third corner.
And, you know, I'm just very curious now because all of what you keep hearing from the community is that at the All-Star games and the practices, as you said, he was very disappointing and made you shake your head. So I'm like, okay, my man, I know what you got. I think I know what you got. He's one of those guys where I think the tools are going to have to show at the combine if he's going to erase some of the negative that he created at the All-Star game.
Yeah, but the tape's good, and
tape is good,
and that's the most important thing, obviously.
And I'll be honest with you, 37, possible.
I don't know if he's getting there.
It depends on how far he dropped because of what people saw last month.
Looking for more than just a ticket? Elevate Experiences delivers VIP access to the world's biggest events, from the Super Bowl to NASCAR to PGA Tour tournaments. Don't just attend, elevate the experience at elevateexperiences.com. 201-939-4513. Let's lead things off with Phil in North Carolina, then Jason, then Coach Marvin. Phil, what's going on?
Yeah, hi guys. How are you?
We're great.
Hi.
Good. Thanks for the show as usual. Before I get to my main point, which is about the positional value in the draft, I got to just comment on yesterday's discussion on Paul's dear subject of 1970s football and being older statesman here. I hated it when I had to see the Cowboys play really well and the Giants didn't play well. So I can't wrap my head around that, why a Giant fan would want to go back to that. But that's my one comment on that. As far as positional value, I think the measure has always been if a play in the first round, if a player is a blue jacket guy, gold jacket guy, and how significant he is better than somebody else at another position that would be more desirable in terms of positional value. How can we measure that better, I guess, so that we can feel okay to draft like the safety, if we think the safety is the best guy?
Well, I think you have to see how far apart the guys are, right? I think positional value and need, to an extent, both come in as tiebreakers, right? Where you get to a point where two guys are similarly graded, and you say, all right, well, I want the guy that plays the more valuable position. He gives me an advantage in terms of cap spending, because you get a guy that would normally be very expensive at a certain position on a rookie contract, and he'll help you on the field in a more important position that impacts the game a little bit more. But if you're looking at a guy that's a significantly better player, even though he plays a less valuable position, I would still go for the significantly better player, and I would make running back the exception to that rule, because I just think running backs are a product of their offensive line more than anything else, and you can find them all over the place. But that's at least how I think about it, Paul.
Yeah, I think the other factor that we often don't talk about, because it usually doesn't come down to this, but when you're talking about tiebreakers between two guys who may have the same grades, guess what? Durability is a big deal. You got to look at the injury history. And if the guy had enough of injuries in college, even though his performance was off the charts, and you're like, he's as good a grade as that other guy, but guess what? In 3 straight years, he missed at least 3 games because he had something, and this other guy didn't. He played every game. Mm-hmm. That makes a difference.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. Good points. Well, thanks, guys. I enjoy the show, and have a good day.
I appreciate it, man. You too. 201-939-4513. Let's go to our buddy Jason in New Haven. He's up next. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Paul and John. How you guys doing?
We're good.
Good. Just want to say as well, safe travels. I know you guys are heading to Indy, so, safe travels to you guys as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. If I can make a real quick point, and then 3 points. So my first thing is, Paul, I got to respectfully disagree with you in terms of the best running back prospect.
Okay.
I think Saquon is definitely up there, but to me, Adrian Peterson was the best college running back I ever saw coming out that year he came out, which was the early.
Absolutely, on a very elite level. I would not dispute that. I will tell you this. I did not study guys as hard as I do now back in the day.
Right.
I mean, to be frank with you, only in the last 12 years have I really begun to be more of a prepper for the draft. And then, of course, being that, how many years have we been going to the Combine?
We're over 10 for sure.
Yeah.
I'm over 10.
For me, I believe it's only 8.
Right.
So,
Right.
up until that point, my microscope wasn't as powerful on
Right.
draft prep. So that's the asterisk on my comment.
Right. Yeah. AP was incredible at Oklahoma, and I'm a Longhorns fan, and
Yeah.
he was a man amongst boys in college. But anyway, back to the Giants. 2 quick points, and I'll get off the air so you get other callers. The 2 guys I'm interested in, and I get it, fellas. We all know the NFL draft is the ultimate roulette wheel, crapshoot, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And I wasn't the biggest dart guy going into last year, and, he definitely made me look like a fool, and we'll see how his career goes. So who knows what these players turn into 2-3 years down the line.
You'll gladly be a fool, though, won't you, in this particular case?
Oh, I'm excited to be an idiot on dunks.
There you go.
Doesn't bother me. But real quick, the 2 guys I'm looking at, and whoever they take, I get it, fellas. Whoever they take, they're always going to get my 100% support, because I'm a Giants fan at the end of the day, and I want players who are going to help us get back to the top of the mountain. But the 2 guys I'm looking at, and I don't know if these guys will be there, I don't know how you guys feel about them, is Reese and Tate. I'm a big Tate guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he's there, for me personally, looking at the TV, I'd be pounding the table if he's there. I think he fits. He gives us another element of a receiver we really don't have, even with Malik. He gives us that big 6'3" frame. He runs great routes. He has great hands. And Ohio State just pumps out, as well as LSU, they just pump out pro-ready receivers, man. I think he would do wonders for this offense, especially with Wandale as a free agent and Malik. It gives Malik maybe a little more time to get 110% where he doesn't have to rush, try to get back on the field. And then Reese, of course, I think you'll play him at middle linebacker. I've seen him play middle linebacker when he played my team, Texas.
Right.
The first game of last season, I think he does that pretty well. Some people say he's an edge, but I think he's flexible. And then my last point, and I'll take it off the air, I get the Downs hype. I really do. But, man, like I said, if they take him, I'll be fine with it. But, man, taking a safety at 5, that's a really, really, really risky move. And if you're doing it, he better be Ed Reed. He better be Sean Taylor off the rip. So I'm not as high on Downs. I get he makes splash plays. I get he's good.
What if he's Kyle Hamilton?
That Ohio State defense is littered with talent. But man, he's the least on my favorite on the list. But if they take him, I get it. So I just wanted to see what you guys thought about those 3 names, and I'll take it off the air, fellas. Thank you.
No, Jason, hold on. What were the 3 names again?
Yep.
He said Reese, Downs.
I'm a Reese and Tate guy. If those 2 are there, me personally, I'm banging the table for those 2. I'm not as big on Downs as maybe I guess you could say consensus. Like I said, if he's the pick, he better be Ed Reed. He better be Sean Taylor. So
what if he's Kyle Hamilton, Jason? I'm going to try it again. What if he's Kyle Hamilton?
But even Kyle Hamilton wasn't picked top 5.
I know, but if you redid that draft, he would be.
He would.
Yeah, but we could say that a lot of players. Dark should have been the number 1 pick if we go back to last year. I mean, John's
point isn't to redo the draft. He's telling you if that's what the guy brings to the table, wouldn't you like it?
Of course. If we have a Hamilton, yes. If we have a Hamilton, but do safeties impact? I don't know if it's enough of him. I don't know if drafting him at 5. If we're drafting him at 5, like I said, he better be, and I hope he is. If we draft the safety at 5, he better be Ed Reed. He better be Sean Taylor. He better be Ronnie Lott. That's just my expectation. So I won't hold you guys. Safe travels, and I'll listen off air.
Appreciate it, Jason. Cool. I mean, Arvell Reese, if he's there, you pick him. And you don't think twice about it.
He won't be.
He's not going to be.
No.
That is correct.
He's gone.
So you can, as much as you love him, Jason, you can kind of push him off the table.
Yeah.
Because he will not be available for you to pick number 5.
Yeah, I've already disqualified him from any thoughts.
No. He will not. He will not be there.
He's gone.
So here's the thing, and I'm not going to bring on my whole which guy do you think is a better chance of being in an all-pro discussion.
Okay.
Downs or Tate, because we've had that conversation and we both agree on that.
Yes, we do.
Here's the thing. If Carnell Tate was Malik Neighbors, you pick Carnell Tate. If Carnell Tate was, I'm trying to think of the Travis Hunter from last year, you pick Travis Hunter. Right?
Okay.
But he, at least for me personally, and maybe the Giants will have him grade that high. I don't know, and they know a lot more about this than I do. I don't see him as that level of a wide receiver prospect. So that's why I would consider taking a player that plays, and I agree, a less valuable position that impacts the game less, makes a lot less money, like Downs instead of Tate, because I think Tate's a really good number 2, or a really low end number 1. So that's why I would prefer a guy that I think has a real chance to be an all-pro safety.
All right, this is a little bit dangerous because I hate to make the comparisons.
And by the way, I could be wrong.
Either.
Tate, remember, he's been stuck with Jeremiah Smith, who's going to be a top 3 pick next year.
Yeah.
So maybe Tate is a 1, and we just haven't seen it because he's playing next to Jeremiah Smith. Okay. That's possible too. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is simplistic, and I don't like to do this, but it might be the only way to try to equate the predicament that you face when looking at those 2 players. What if I said to you, Kyle Hamilton or Chris Olave? Who would you want on your team? And that's about the best. And that's about the best equation that I can come up with. Do you want Hamilton or do you want Olave if you're the Giants? And I don't know that that's totally accurate, but
No, I think that's actually really good.
It makes sense.
I think that's
right?
really good.
It makes sense.
I think I would probably rather have.
And let's go back, if we could rewind yesterday's show, to your point, do you want to make sure that you equip Jackson Dart with every piece of offensive firepower he can get his hands on? That's part of this equation.
But what if I told
It's hard.
What if I told you could get Jordan Addison at the top of the second round?
This is why it becomes a real tough enigma and why I'm so happy not to be a GM.
Right, me too. I mean, look, I've put Tate in mocks I've done with Tony many times, so I'm a Cardinal Tate fan. I think Chris Olave is a good comparison. I mean, when Olave becomes a free agent, he's probably going to make more money than what Kyle Hamilton makes by a few million. But I think there are probably... It's easier to find another Chris Olave than it is to find another Kyle Hamilton.
I agree with that. Hence the problem. See, now I got you. He always sticks me with these hypothetical forks.
That's a good question.
That they make me bowl over in pain.
I do.
Now I got you.
He did. I mean, I'm taking the Olave concussion stuff and ignoring that, right? Just him as a player.
Yes. Ignore that. That's not part of it. Because, neither guy has an injury problem. These are two healthy players.
It's a great question, Paul. It's close.
I know.
I'd probably lean Hamilton because I feel like I can find the Chris Olave.
Okay, now in a month.
But I might change my mind on that.
And that's the problem. In a month, you find out Wan'Dale Robinson has signed elsewhere, and you find out that Malik Neighbors maybe is a tad behind schedule. What do you do?
Then I probably take Cardinal Tate.
Oh, I got some juicy hypothetical for John on the show. I love it.
Right. Correct. And see, right now, guys, the way I'm thinking about this is since I don't know what the Giants' needs are going to be, right? Because we don't know what free agency is going to look like, I'm just talking about trying to get the best player I can.
And I agree with that. And to be honest, you can't go wrong with either player. Period. They both should be really good.
And I will say this, I think both players are extremely safe players.
Yes, I
think
agree
they
with
both
that.
have very high floors.
I don't see any sniff of boom or bust on either guy.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, worst comes to worst, Cardinal Tate is a, 70 catch, 1,100 yard receiver. That's a really good deep threat.
Nothing wrong with that?
Nope. No. I mean, at 5, you'd like better than that, but I think that's the worst case scenario for him.
Should we ask Jackson which guy he wants?
Right. Well, then I think we're picking the wide receiver, Paul. I think we're picking the wide receiver then. 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Coach Marvin's in Delaware. Coach Marvin, what's going on?
How you guys doing, John and Paul?
Hey,
What's up,
Coach.
Paul, you just knocked me out of my chair with that comparison of the receiver and the safety. That crushed me a little bit. But I'm kind of thinking about what the caller was saying. I talked about this last Friday, my choices, and I was looking at Caleb Downs. Paul came up with some good scenarios, but it can go the other way. What if they get Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco? What do you do? So we don't know what they're going to do in free agency, which is really tough because we have a lot that we have to work on and fill spots in. So that's what makes this difficult. But for today, I have to go with Caleb Downs, is who I said last week, and I'm saying it again this week because I rate him a better player than Tate. Not by much. I like Tate, but I said if Jordan Tyson was healthy, I don't know what his medical is, he would be my number one receiver because of how explosive he is. Tate is really good, but he did wow me a little bit, but he doesn't blow me away. He's really consistent. If they took him, I support anybody they take because they know more than we do. But from sitting in my living room, I have to go with Caleb Downs. You add him with Abdul Carter and Burns and those guys, and you you can get another corner in free agency, you may be finding yourself with a good defense, because a good defense can help a young quarterback too, not just getting him weapons. If you got a good defense, that can also help him in a way. So that's the way I see it. Last week, Paul, you seemed like you wanted to ask me a question about that, and I didn't give you a chance to ask me.
No, well, I'm glad you clarified right now. I think part of this as well, and we've discussed this ad infinitum too, the defensive coordinator and how he wants to deploy guys is also part of this equation, because you don't want to draft a guy who then isn't going to be utilized to his full potential. Our understanding in talking about Denard Wilson is that he does prefer a 3-safety look. So that would bode well if you wanted to get downs on the field.
Why do you think he prefers the 3-safety?
Talking to Dave McGinnis last week about him. And he said that Wilson is definitely a 3-safety guy, but the problem was the Titans did not have enough talent to often deploy the 3-safety look. But that's what he wants to do, because he doesn't want to substitute as often as other teams do. He wants to get the 3 safeties on and say, okay, I'm going to confuse you with my looks with the same personnel. And that allows him to do more of that if he's able to keep the 3 safeties on the field.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I'm more with John on this one. At this high of a pick, you got to get as much talent on the field as you can. Not that Tate's not talented. They were comparing the guy said the caller before was talking about Hamilton. Where was he drafted? And you could say that. I think John said that about Malik Neighbors. Neighbors was drafted 6. Will you put Tate on the same level as Neighbors? So even though those are not good measurements of how you want to draft, I just feel who's the best player. I don't look at the position unless I have something at that position that's better than what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. I know you got. Are y'all going to be doing any interviews at the combine?
You mean with like analysts? Yes.
But not any players. You're just doing analysts.
Well, we talked to the players at the podium, Coach. I mean, we'll talk about the when we're on the shows again. 12-1, right, John? 12-1 Eastern time.
Yep, you got
every day from the combine, starting Tuesday. Actually, Monday we have travel. So, Coach, we'll be going to the podiums for all of the media sessions, and we'll refer to those notes and let you know the kind of scuttlebutt that we hear. But no, none of the players will personally come on the program.
Okay, because I'd like you and John to look at one particular guy. You were just talking about running backs.
Yeah.
I heard his name, and I looked at him. This guy got something there, and that's Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska. So you guys get a chance to look at him. His name has been mentioned quite a few times by certain types of scouters. Mel Kiper bought him up, and he was bought up by somebody else. Bucky Brooks bought him up. Those were different weeks I was listening to those podcasts, and his name came up. So I took a look at him, and this guy's for real. So I'd like to, next time I talk to you guys, hopefully sometimes when you come back, or next week if I call next week, what do you think of Emmett Johnson?
Yeah, I have not watched him yet, Coach. He is on my list of running backs I need to watch, and I appreciate the call. Thanks so much, as always. He's exciting. He's a player that has some juice. He can catch the ball for Nebraska. So that's a guy that I wanted to watch. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get to him before I get out there, but he is a player that I think could end up being the 3rd running back taken in the draft.
Well, I think with all of the Giants' other needs and with some of the depth at the positions that we think is there.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there from the Giants. I was just speaking generally.
My suspicion is that the Giants' running back room, if they decide that Singletary is a cap casualty, which certainly economically you could make a case for, I would think that they would like to pick up a running back late, which would be later than what you're talking about, or they pick up a very low-cost free agent. That would be my thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do another significant investment to have a 3rd running back. I don't think that.
And if he's the 3rd running back on anybody's board, I don't think that fits the Giants' needs.
Yeah, I don't think that makes sense at all, to be totally honest with you. Special Olympics New Jersey's annual Snow Bowl is headed to the Rutgers SHI Stadium in 2026. The annual flag football tournament will be on the field from March 6th through the 8th. 6-on-6 tournament will feature competitive recreational and co-ed divisions, and all proceeds benefit thousands of Special Olympics New Jersey athletes across the Garden State. Register your team today at njsnowball.org. That's njsnowball.org. 201-939-4513. Let's go to Darian in Houston. He's up next. What's up, Darian? Darian, you there? Darian going once. We got you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, cool. I just wanted to say I watched the radio documentary on the Giants site. It was awesome. Just wanted to say that.
No, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I called the other day asking, if you guys could see the league going to rotating quarterbacks
Right.
in the future. I didn't mean drafting a new quarterback every year. I meant actually keeping two kind of starter quality.
Paul was right, and I was wrong on that one.
roster.
All right. No,
Yeah,
Darian, I do not see them doing that. Not at all.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. Back when Ray Handley was the Giants head coach in 1991, he had proposed coming out of training camp to Phil Simms and Jeff Hostetler that he rotate the two quarterbacks by situation. Hostetler, the more mobile of the two quarterbacks at the time. And that was not going to fly. In fact, Phil Simms told Handley, no, absolutely not. If you want to name me the starter. But rotating the two of us, that is not going to work for anybody. It's going to be a disaster. And so Handley wound up naming Hostetler his starting quarterback to start the 91 season. And, of course, he wound up getting hurt. And, well, we know what happened during the next 2 years before Dan Reeves came in 93.
Yeah, that's what I'm not a fan of it, and I wouldn't want, especially the Giants, to do it. But based on matchup or situation. But as far as my question with free agency, it seems that because I have a lot of Eagles friends, so that's what it is. But it seems like the Eagles are always in the mix for like the top free agents or at the the trade deadline. Like they're always in the mix for the high price, big name guys, even though they have a lot of big contracts on their roster already. It seems like kind of like the salary cap doesn't exist for them. And I know people say they push money back and they have void years and things like that, and it's going to catch up to them. They're going to have to pay for it. But all these years it seems like they never really pay for it. They they still are always in the mix to get big guys. So, and I know GMs talk to each other, and Howie's one of the best GMs in the league. So I was just wondering, like, why do you guys think that is, and why don't the Giants or other teams seem to be able to get to that position like the Eagles are, like always in the mix for top guys and paying top guys no matter what the salary cap is?
Well, I mean, the Eagles have more paid their own guys than bringing in new guys from the outside. I mean, Saquon Barkley's an exception to that rule. But, I mean, I'm trying to think of who the last big free agent they brought in from outside the team that they paid a lot of money to.
They traded for A.J. Brown,
I don't know how much they paid,
which was a big contract.
paid him, but he was a pretty big name.
Who's that?
Jalen Phillips?
Well, that was a trade.
Yeah.
That was a trade with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But it is a
But
contract.
they
It is a
have to
big
pay him.
contract. I understand.
No, it wasn't. He was still on his rookie deal.
You're right.
Okay.
You're right. He was still on his rookie deal. That's correct. He was a big name, but he wasn't a big contract.
Yes. And look, keep in mind this year, just for an example. Well, I'll go back to last year. You talk about it, the Eagles are always in the mix in free agency, right, Darian? They lost both Josh Sweat and Milton Williams last year.
Yeah.
They'd let both guys walk out the door and leave. Milton Williams made $20 million. Josh Sweat made between 15 and 20. This year, Dallas Goedert's going to walk out that building, and he's going to become a free agent. He's going to leave. Just to give you an idea of and I went through this on a previous show, and I'll go through it with you now for people that didn't hear it. What do you think A.J. Brown's cap number is this year?
Not sure.
Okay, so A.J. Brown's cap number is $23 million. That's very reasonable, right?
Sure.
How much dead money do you think A.J. Brown has on his contract right now?
Maybe 50?
$72 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if they wanted to release or trade A.J. Brown, they would be on the hook for $72 million. Guess how much dead money Jalen Hurts has on his contract right now?
100.
$117 million. Lane Johnson, and by the way, and just real quick, one more. Lane Johnson, who just said he's coming back next year, by the way, he's not going to retire. At the age of 34 or 35, whatever he is, he still has $40 million of dead money on his contract. So when you say you don't have to pay the piper eventually, they are. They did last year when Milton Williams had to leave, when Josh Sweat had to leave. So this stuff's starting to come up here where a lot of these guys, Saquon Barkley now has $38 million of dead money on his contract.
Yeah.
$38 million. For a running back that's closing in on 30 years old.
When he signed, we told you with his injury history, he's going to have a lot of dead money.
And he's also been extended since then, remember?
Now, look, there are two things I want to just bring your attention to. Number one, they have done extremely well drafting the last 2 seasons.
I mean, not just that they've always been a good drafting team.
Yeah, but even better the last 2 years. John, we every time we watch the draft together, we're like puking all over ourselves. Guys just fall into their laps constantly. So give them credit for drafting extremely well to replenish some of these guys who wind up getting old and have to go away, because then they get these guys on rookie contracts, and that does significantly help their cap situation. The other thing, and this is a little bit different now, okay, is that you also have to be very fortunate that these guys who you sign to these long-term deals and have a bunch of dead money sitting at the end of their cap, you have to be lucky enough that they stay healthy and that they play at a high enough level that they actually are kind of worth it towards the end of their deals. Because if they get old quickly and their performance falls off,
or if they get hurt,
again, I said injury before, or if they get hurt, then all of a sudden now you can't afford to keep them because their value does not come anywhere near their cap number, and now you're forced to take a huge dead cap hit. Now, they've been pretty lucky with a lot of their guys that hasn't really happened.
Yep.
But at some point, the roll of the dice does not work out. You know, Lady Luck does bite you in the butt.
Like one guy to watch, for example, Darian, in that respect, would be Landon Dickerson, who's dealt with a ton of injuries at guard. There's even some rumors out there he might want to retire. I don't know how that would affect the signing bonus and the prorated bonuses if he actually retires. But it isn't like everything's a benefit here, and you do run into issues down the road with the way they structure some of these contracts. Now, if you have a quarterback and you're in that window and you're trying to win right now, would I be all right trying to, manage that for a 3 or 4 year span to try to maximize your chance at winning? Yeah, I'd be willing to play that game. But if you're in a situation like the Giants where you're still trying to figure out exactly what you have at quarterback and you're still kind of in a building phase, I don't think this is the time that you would take that aggressive of a posture in terms of how you go about things. Or at least that's my opinion.
I'll give you a good example of a guy who we could talk about, and this will give you a better picture as to the scenario. When the Giants were forced to cut James Bradbury as a salary cap casualty, he was a really good player yet. Really good top-flight corner. And the Eagles signed him right down the turnpike for a nice chunk of change. Well, guess what? Bradbury had to be cut a couple years later. And he did not age well, and he fell off the cliff a little bit early, and they had to wind up taking dead money on the back end of his deal. Now, that's one of the few players that did not work out well on the back end for them. But there's a good example. If you get a few of those guys, all of a sudden now the dead money is weighting you down at a very high level, and you're going to feel it.
Yeah. I think I might just be biased because, like I said, a lot of my friends are Eagles fans. It seems like they're always.
I get it. I get it.
They're getting this guy and that guy, and I'm like, wow, all these free agents on the market. Like, I wish the Giants could get some of them. It seems like the Eagles are always in the mix to get them. So I'm like, I don't know how that works, but thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Awesome.
The other thing, John, and it's not so much with the high-price free agents, but when you have a team that's been in contention for 2 or 3 years in a row, you get some names who maybe are on the back end of deals, and they're coming free, and now they're looking to extend their career by another year or two, and they want a chance to win. And so the Eagles have also benefited by a couple of those guys, too. So
No, you're right. I agree. 201-939-4513. 201-939-4513. Let's go back to the phone. Say to Ron in Glen Rock. Ron, what's going on?
Hey guys, I just want to follow up on that call there. It sounds to me that there's over $100 million of dead cap, and you sort of explained it, but in real life, I'm thinking in 2 years, are they going to collapse? Like I'm not getting the actual real consequences of what you're talking about. Because the other caller had a good point. They seem to finagle. Am I making sense?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. No, yeah, you will. No, look, look. Depending on what these players look like in 2 years, you might get to the point where you're having $100 million of your salary cap dedicated to players that are not contributing to your roster, like that.
So how can you have a competitive team?
You won't.
At that point, they pay the piper.
The plan works as long as the guys that you're doing it with continue to be productive players. If you get to the point where some of those guys fall off a cliff quickly, and now the Eagles have been fortunate that hasn't happened with many of their guys yet, that's when you run into potential catastrophic type of results.
Can you think of any examples of that?
Right.
I just can't really.
No, I have to go back.
Yeah.
Let me think about that. Yeah. There are guys that have popped up with that. Okay, how about this? Russell Wilson with the Broncos.
Okay, so what will their consequences be? They got lucky because they got a quarterback on their rookie deal.
Right, but that's part of how you escape the cap hell, is that you draft extremely well and you replenish with young, cheap players who wind up filling the talent void on the field while you're taking the dead cap hit because you got rid of older players who aren't as productive anymore. That's one of the ways you can finesse this and kind of circumvent it. But you got to be really, really fortunate.
No, look, there is an argument to be made, that risk is worth the price of admission. You can make that argument, and it has worked for the Eagles so far.
It has.
But again,
you grab a win of the title, right?
And again, and if that happens, it's totally worth it, and you sign up for it. They won 2, right?
Sure.
So in that case, it's totally worth it. But there is a risk down the road if some of those players end up falling off quickly.
So it's something for us Giant fans to look forward to. Hey, real quick, another sort of related question. With Wando Robinson, sure, I want him back. He's a good, scrappy player. But when we look at him and say, hey, 100-yard guy, you have to have him. Is he a 1,000-yard guy with Malik back, with somebody else we pick up in the draft? Or does he become, and I mean this respectfully, a guy we sort of forget about at 400 or 500 yards? Like, how do you guys look at that? And I like the guy.
Yeah, I don't know if he's I don't know if he's ever a 400, 500 yard guy. I think you look at him more of a 700, 800 yard guy. But I think that's why.
Okay.
But I think that's why he's not going to be a guy that's going to end up landing in that $25 million a year range, like a Devontae Smith or a Jalen Waddle.
He won't be that expensive.
Or something like that. Because I don't think he's that type of guy.
Next year or not is really the question. I know no one knows.
Well, here's the problem. We don't even know what the new Giants offensive coordinator wants to do.
Appreciate the call.
I get that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man.
We don't know what Neighbors' percentage is going to be when he's back. Is he 100% opening day? Is he not? How long does it take? I mean, coming back from this knee injury, we can't tell you what Neighbors' line is going to be at the end of this season. But again, that's only one factor. The other factor is, what is the Giants' offensive coordinator going to do? Does he want to feature player X or player Y? It's a problem, John.
Right. No, I'm with you. And look, just to get back to the Eagles thing very quickly, and then we're going to have to wrap the show a few minutes early today. We have to run to a meeting upstairs. As much success as he's had, I think there are some legitimate questions in terms of how well Jalen Hurts has played over the past couple of years.
Right.
And, look, that's one of the guys where they've managed to keep his cap number very reasonable over the years. Since he signed his extension, his cap numbers were $6 million, $13 million, $21 million. This year, it's supposed to be 31, then to 42, then to 47, then to 97. And then he has 3 void years with $60 million on there after that. So if his play does not elevate back up to what it was, or he's a running quarterback, if he gets hurt, things like that,
Right.
that Jalen Hurts contract could be very problematic for them.
Big time.
And they're already running into the issue with the A.J. Brown contract this year, right? Where it's almost impossible. If they want to trade A.J. Brown, it's almost impossible to do it.
Yeah.
You really have to get creative. Now, they can do it. They're a smart franchise and all that stuff. But it becomes very, very, very difficult to move on. What happens if A.J. Brown demands a trade?
Deal with it.
Yeah, but it's almost impossible to deal with because of the salary cap situation. So,
look, what we know is this. The more you try to finagle around the salary cap, the more difficult it's going to be down the road to navigate it. Yeah. That's just the bottom line. That's it. It's going to happen. It doesn't mean you can't navigate it,
right?
But it gets more and more difficult the further you push it.
And you might have to take a year or two where you're in that quasi...
Bite the bullet.
Maybe not you bite the bullet. Exactly.
Yeah.
Where you don't have to stink. You're not necessarily going to be terrible. But there's a year, or you're going to have to let go of players you don't want to let go of. You know, I go back in the day, back when Jerry Jones was more of a aggressive GM with a lot of dead money and, you know, that sort of stuff. Remember when the Cowboys couldn't re-sign DeMarcus Lawrence?
Yeah, sure.
The guy's going in there Ring of Honor.
Yep.
And he went to the Broncos and he won a Super Bowl there. Because they had so much money tied up in dead money and then other players, they couldn't bring DeMarcus Lawrence back. I mean, DeMarcus Ware back. Pardon me, DeMarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware. Well,
DeMarcus Ware.
Lawrence went free agent too.
Yes,
DeMarcus Ware's
also,
the better point.
They also could not.
Ezekiel Elliott.
They also, by the way, both guys went on to win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So I was more referencing DeMarcus Ware back in the day.
I understand.
They were more aggressive then. DeMarcus Lawrence, that did happen last year. But back to DeMarcus Ware, who's one of their best defenders in franchise history.
No doubt.
He was an unbelievable player. And they had to let him go because they had so much dead money tied up elsewhere that they couldn't re-sign him. So, look, there are things that come up where it looks great and it does work for a number of years, but eventually all those void years that, you know, they show up eventually, and you got to, you know, those void years have to be accounted for in the salary cap.
There's no way to escape the cap. That's the bottom line. You can't escape it.
But look, the argument is, and by the way, it's not a bad argument. I'm not telling you they're wrong. And there's a good argument to do it this way, that if you're able to spread that money over as many years as you can, even if some of those are void years where the guy's not even under contract in your team, the cap goes up so much every year, you feel the pain less by having the money spread out by more years down the road than you do taking the hit earlier, even during the length of that contract.
And that's part of what the Eagles are banking on, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of conversation that the television contract is going to be reopened within the next 2 seasons, and the commissioner, Roger Goodell, is going to make the push for the 18 games and the 2 preseason games, and therefore the TV revenue is going to go through the roof again. And if that happens, the salary cap takes a much bigger hike, and therefore the percentage of your dead money starts to shrink a little.
Right. So you might have, move this way, $50 million of dead money today is a lot more painful than what $50 million of dead money in 2030
Absolutely.
might be, because
Absolutely.
the cap's bigger.
Yes, sir.
Which is why the idea of pushing it more down the road might make a little more sense.
Now,
which is why teams subscribe to that.
That's not the elixir, but it does help make the slope a little less steep.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you also, and again, the Giants have never been shy about this, but it's also cash spending, right? In terms of how you structure this, in terms of bonuses.
Sure.
You have to have more, just the way the cap works, you have to be more willing to spend cash than you are necessarily, paying salary down the road. So those are all things you have to take advantage of. Paul, good stuff, my friend.
Yeah, another good show.
All right, so Paul with Lance tomorrow. We're traveling on Monday, another show at 12:30, and then we'll be 12 to 1 next Tuesday to Friday. I already have the first 2 days of shows pretty much booked, which is good, and everybody else is committed, just don't have times for them yet. So make sure you tune in. We'll be at the Combine in Indianapolis next week. Paul and I will be there. Madeline will be there. Pearson's making the trip. We're going to have some good steak. And we'll have some fun out there in Indianapolis and bring you the best content we can. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. We will talk to you next week from the Combine. Paul and Lance will be with you tomorrow at 12:30. Make sure you check it out.